It's that time of the week one more time. It's live, and it's in the interest of the people with Larry and Benny. They're going to make you laugh, and they'll even make you mad enough to chew nails. Either way, they have you tuned in. So sit back in that easy chair and get close to a phone, because you can call and talk to them. You better get you something to drink, because you may need it also. Take it away, guys.
Welcome, folks. I'm Benny Green. I'm here with our host, Larry Barton. Sit back and enjoy it. Larry?
Thank you, Mr. Benny. It's indeed an honor to be back with you tonight. Excuse me, getting choked up already. We have got a lively program for you tonight. There's going to be some laying on of hands without prayer. So y'all stay tuned. We're fortunate to have all 5 individuals who's running for mayor of Sylacauga. They've all agreed to be with us tonight, and they've agreed that whatever we ask them, they will answer, one way or the other. And that's as fair as we know how to be and as fair as they know how to be. We are honored to have Miss Clara Curtis, Mr. Walter Jacobs sitting next to Miss Clara, Mr. Jim Heathcock, Mr. Doug Murphy, and Bobby Whetstone. And we're going to be going to these folks in just a second. Might want to point out first, if you're needing, and after this program tonight, they all may need a little bit of rehab. If they do, they can get it at McGuffey Healthcare in Gaston, Alabama. 2012 Gaston Times Reader's Choice says that Rehab First is the #1 long-term care facility in Etowah County. Also, they're saying that the Reader's Choice for the best place to work is Rehab First at McGuffey Healthcare. 98% of all the rehab patients surveyed said they would recommend Rehab First at McGuffey Healthcare as the top facility to receive rehab care in Etowah County. So if you need any kind of rehab, you go see Rehab First at McGuffey Healthcare. Gentlemen, ladies, we appreciate you being with us tonight. We'll be as fair as we know how to be, and when we ask a question, Mr. Benny don't know what I'm going to ask, and I'm not sure I know what all I'm going to ask. I've got a lot of notes here, but if someone makes a comment to either one of you or about you, you have a right to respond. And that's just, you make it easy on yourself or you make it tough. You've got folks that's watching tonight that will not be able to go to the forum this coming Thursday night. And so this is your opportunity to get your message out. We're not going to get involved in who your family members are, where you went to church, all your education background and so forth. If you want the folks to know this, you've got 2 weeks to buy ads on the TV station, the newspapers, or whatever. And other than that, we ask you, of course, none of you use bad language anyway, so we're not going to have none of that stuff. May lose your temper, but that's okay. I lose mine sometimes. But we want to get started. First of all, I'm going to give you just a minute or two to tell Miss Clara, why do you want to be mayor of Sylacauga, and why do you think you're better qualified than these 4 gentlemen?
Well, one of the reasons that I, had chosen to run for mayor was simply because I've lived here for 50 years. And I've seen the very best that we've had, I've seen the middle that we've had, and I've seen the worst that we've had. And I'd like to see us go back to being what we have been, which at one time was called the best kept secret in Sylacauga, in Alabama. And I think that I have the ability to do so, and that's the reason I'm running.
Mr. Jacobson?
Well, I certainly feel that I have the knowledge, the skills, and the ability to bring to the table some things that aren't there now. My background in business and planning and strategic development is, I think that gives me a unique qualification.
Ms. Heathcock?
I just believe that right now in my life, empty nester, I've got the time that it takes to commit to doing this job full time, 7 days a week. I spent probably a decade in one of the premier job development industries in Alabama, the 2-year college. I'm very familiar with its success. I also spent some time before that with one of our major research institutions, which is an economic development engine, and that's Auburn University. You put all those things together, and I think that gives me the insight and the knowledge to bring jobs to this town, which will be my personal goal.
Mr. Doug Murphy?
I guess what I bring to the table, Mayor, is experience. I've been on the city council for 16 years. I've been city council president for 8 years. I've been through and worked on 15 different budgets since I've been on the city council. I've worked with every department within the city. I've worked with every. I've been liaison to most of the departments, and I've worked with the employees. So, I guess that's the main thing I bring is experience.
Mr. Bobby Whetstone?
The reason I'm running because all you have to do is go outside. You see how terrible Sylacauga looks. We was running on a $16 million budget. Now we're down to $13 million budget. When you deal with globalization, when you deal with the world's economy, Sylacauga's got to be in a position that we'll look out for our children, our grandchildren. And I love Sylacauga. I grew up here, went to school here, played in the band here. So I want to see it successful. And under my leadership, it will. It's time for a change. Time to change the spirit of Sylacauga.
Thank you. Thank you all, each candidate. The next 4 years, Sylacauga's at a crossroad. You're going to have a new mayor. You're going to have at least 2 new council members. And there's a lot of issues facing Sylacauga. You have the reef issue, the sports complex, the 280 project, the budget, education, Chamber of Commerce. And Mr. Jacobson, I'll ask you this question. I know y'all had to do a budget this year or every year, and the last budget you adopted, you made a lot of people mad. You cut their budgets pretty severely. I know the Chamber of Commerce took you to task, or took the council to task, and I know that the animal control, that's not the proper name for it, but they were upset. The police department was there. They were upset. If you're elected mayor, how are you going to bring all these folks together that's mad at you right now? How are you going to handle bringing this? The city's divided. There's no question about it. And in the last few days, my phone has rung constantly about various and sundry things. And I don't believe I've ever seen a city more divided, not just in the middle, but it's split pretty bad right now. How can you bring the town together?
I won't disagree with you on the split. There is certainly that. And you're talking about the budget process. One of the things that we've got to do is begin to, put priorities on where we do our allocations for the funds. And I'm a big believer in setting goals and objectives, and then setting measures to see whether or not we're achieving those. And then that, if you put something out and you can't measure it, then you can never improve it. And just because somebody has gotten X number of dollars in the past is no justification to do it again. So, like I say, it's some very tough decisions got to be made, and there's certainly not going to be a lot of people won't be happy, but it is what it is, and we've got to look at it. And the legacy cost for the city continues to grow, and there's not a plan in place right now to address that. So we definitely have to do that.
I want to come back to that in just a moment. Mr. Murphy, how are you going to pull the city together with this divide and division like it is now? I know that you've been, and I've been there on the mayor, and I understand when you make decisions, you make folks mad. But how can you pull everyone together with some of the decisions you've made the last 16 years?
Well, I mean, I agree with Mr. Jacobson there. We've got to, people have got to understand we've lost probably 2,000 jobs in Sylacauga the last 8 or 10 years. It's hard to maintain the same service to the people that we maintained when we had all these jobs here and a lot more income into the city. We've got to set priorities, I guess, and decide. If we have to make cuts, then we've got to decide who we're going to cut. I mean, it's hard to do sometimes. But like I said, it comes down to a matter of how much of the same services do we want to maintain. And of course, the people of Sylacauga are used to a certain level of services, and I can understand that they want to keep those services. And I hope we can find ways to do it. But it does get tough to do sometimes.
Mr. Jacobson's been running an ad on cable TV here, WIL TV, adding that he wants to do a contingency plan. What's your opinion on a contingency plan?
Well, I mean, I think we've got to have a contingency plan. But it's hard sometimes to make a plan with the economy like it is. You can plan so far out, but if you start trying to plan 5 years down the road, you know, we don't know what the economy is going to be 5 years down the road. So we've got to have some contingency plans if the economy gets worse. And you know, it's sad to say, but we don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 or 3 years.
Mr. Whetstone, how you feel about a contingency plan?
Well,
And this is in reference to so many businesses have closed that you say you have no contingency plan to take care of this, or what do we do when we have more businesses closed? How are you going to handle this?
well, first of all, I'm a uniter, not a divider. If this city is divided, it's because we don't have 16 years or 48 years of Mr. Walter and Mr. Doug. And it's time to change. For contingency plans, any kind of plan, we've got to make sure that this city is attractive. And this city is not attractive for major corporations. This city population is down, the revenue is down, we need more annexation. Any kind of plans that they have talked about, even in their contingency plan, they should have did it 4 years ago, because a leader had to have vision. You got to look out for Sylacauga down the road. Now we know things will come up, but there are things that I'm going to put in place that's going to bring revenue in this city, that if anything happens, any emergency happens, then we'll be able to take care of it. I got a lot of ideas to bring revenue.
Mr. Heathcote?
I think, first of all, I need to question what is meant by contingency plan. I think we may have some confusion. Contingency plan, to me, is defined as a backup plan.
Exactly.
So basically, I think maybe, Mayor Barton, you were referring to a strategic plan, perhaps, if that's the question.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Mr. Jacobson? Is
No,
that what you're saying, a contingency plan?
Yeah, a contingency plan is a contingency plan. You know, contingent upon what happens, how will you react? How will the city react? You know, we as a unit, so it is a contingency.
That's what you've been advertising.
That's exactly right, yes.
Miss, you want to finish your...
I basically, I question the idea or the definition of contingency. I mean, basically, you go in with a budget, and I can assure you that I'm ignorant right now of what the real facts are. I don't think any of the 5 of us up here really know what's going to be what we face until we take office and we get that information presented to us. And quite frankly, I guess I could speculate, but I can assure you, just like myself, if I don't have enough money to run my operation, I make cuts. And in city government, Mayor Barton, it's the same way as far as I'm concerned.
Ms. Clara, how do you feel about a contingency plan?
Well, I'm glad that you asked that question, because in 1998, the city of Sylacauga under Mayor Jesse Cleveland drew up a strategic plan for Sylacauga. If you read this plan, would be as good today as it was in 1998, because this plan was drawn up by citizens all over this town. We came together and we did this with Auburn University, spent over $30,000 to do this. But I don't think it's ever been used, because only one thing in here, after reading it, has really been done. So my thought is, let's go back and get this out of the archives and use it like it was supposed to have been done, that we paid $30,000. We stopped investing in ourselves. Somewhere along the line, we lost our ways. And if you really want to know how many jobs we lost in the last 4 years, try 2,440 in industry. And you've lost 35 commercial businesses. Now, in my opinion, somebody wasn't following the plan that we already had in place that was organized by the citizens of this town, because that's what citizens want. Citizens wants to be a part of this town. They want to make the plans, they want to help with the plans, and they want to be a part of it. And I think that's where we've lost our way. We quit investing in the things that we really need to do, and that was not only to bring industry here, because we lost all of those, but we just stopped. We didn't use the plan. We never created anything new or different. And as far as I know, this book was the reason that TXID, which is probably the last major thing that we had come into this area, they came because they said that they were so impressed with the Black Book. So, you know, I think we just...
So you're saying there's a contingency plan in place?
That what?
You're saying there is a contingency plan?
There has been a plan since 1998, but it wasn't followed.
Can I add something to
yes,
that?
Sir.
And I'm not disagreeing with Ms. Curtis, but we have done some of the things on there. I mean, and I was involved in 1998 when we did that strategic plan. We have made some improvements on Broadway. We've changed out several lights up and down through there. We've done some aesthetic work there. We've done some stuff on Fort Williams. I think one of the things was to address some of the looks of Fort Williams Street. We've done that. We've done some work at Bluebell Park, which was in that thing. And one of the things I remember we talked about was our ISO rating. We bought a $700,000 platform fire truck. We got our ISO rating from a 5 down to a 4. So I think we have done some of the things that we set out to do in that strategic plan in 1998.
I'm sorry, I disagree. I think that we lost our way somewhere. We didn't use the one that the citizens brought together. You may have done a few things, but what happened to all those jobs that we lost? How come we wasn't going out to recruit? To recruit an industry, you got to have guts. You got to be able to go out and talk to people and ask them. And let me tell you something. The reason I say you have to have guts is simply because most people tell you no, they don't want to come to Sylacauga. And they say, statistics say that you'll only get 1 out of 10 that would even be interested. And most people will not continue on once they've had the word no said to them. Tell me what we've recruited. What have we recruited? And then once you get a halfway decent idea from somebody that they might want to come here, you got to sell it. And there again, you better have guts to be able to sell, because you got to sell the beautiful that we don't have. Like Mr. Whetstone said, we are not very clean in this town. We have been a beautiful city. We have had everything we could think of, like parks and everything, but we lost our way. We got grass growing up everywhere. We just don't take care. And we spend money on things that is not necessary, like we study to have a shopping center out on Fort Williams or 280. Nothing was ever done about it. What could you have done with that $10,000 or ever how much it cost? You could have bought a new sweeper's truck, of which I have heard in the past that it's not working, the one we got. And obviously it's not, because I'm using my broom at my house to sweep up my yard.
We're going to have to go to break shortly. Yes, sir.
Well, my thing is a backup plan. I'm trying to figure out if something major would happen in Sylacauga and we've got to borrow money to just take care of things. What about if something major happens? If our budget has went down from 16 million to 13 million, if something happened at the utilities board, some out of whack happens, we don't have the finances. Where's the money? Where's the money? In any contingency plan, you have to have revenue just in case something major happens. And they done squandered the money. You know, the money is gone. We had a city councilman say this city is broke. So how can you have any contingency without revenue? And so that's the things we need to look in there. Once we get in there, we need to find out how we're going to bring revenue. And if anything major happens, we don't have the monies. If we do, we've got to borrow it.
Bobby, that's exactly what a contingency plan does. Is it, contingent upon something happening?
Exactly.
You've got a plan on where you're going to get your money, where you're going to make your cuts.
Exactly.
And you don't have to go back and scramble for that. You got it in place.
Exactly.
You're ready to go.
I guess the question would ask, we got to go to break shortly.
Right.
But while we're on this roll, the question I would have in 2009, according to the Daily Home, the City Council passed the budget for the fiscal year 2009-2010 with a $177,000 deficit. So if you're going into a budget with almost $250,000 deficit, where are you going to get your contingency back up from?
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Right. Well, you're confusing strategic planning and contingency plan.
Well, that's what he asked, though.
He asked about contingency plan.
He asked about a contingency plan.
Yeah.
Well, exactly, and you're confusing the two things.
I'm not confusing contingency.
Because a contingency is if you were to lose $3 million out of your budget, where are you going to make the cuts? What are you going to cut? You can't continue to fund $3 million if you're losing that in your budget. You've got to have a plan in place of where you're going to make the cuts and when you're going to make them, and you better do it quick.
You know, it's no sense in arguing semantics, but,
Exactly,
but
man.
really and truly, we need to be on the same page.
Exactly.
Look, I don't want the public to think a contingency plan is a strategic plan.
Exactly.
Quite frankly, what Ms. Curtis pulled out, the black book, a strategic plan by definition, Mayor, has got actions in it, recommendations, and those actions are supposed to have people that can carry out those actions to take the strategic plan and make it reality.
Exactly.
Any other plan, you can call it a long-range plan. That's the difference between it and a strategic plan. A long-range plan is just a list of I wants without any way to accomplish it. A strategic plan is exactly named that because it's supposed to have an action plan attached to it. Now, just like Ms. Curtis said, and Mr. Murphy answered, anything that was accomplished, the question is, was there some actionable person or department head, or was it just the luck of the draw that these things occurred? I mean, yeah, the council passed a budget, they passed an appropriation to pay for a matching fund for these things, but my question is, did they really have somebody that was accountable if it was a slow process? I don't think we've ever really had a real strategic plan with people responsible to be put up and asked, how is this coming, the process?
We're going to come back to this in just a minute. We've got to go to a break. Don't forget, if you need some car insurance, these folks may be running over each other's car tonight after this program's over with. You need to go down and get you some insurance from Doug Kemp. Doug can insure your car, your boat, motor, trailer, house, life insurance, whatever. Doug Kemp can take care of all your needs. And you go by and tell him you want one of these little cars for your young'un. Doug will be glad to give you one of them. I think they're limited numbers, but you go by and see Doug Kemp on East Street in Talladega and tell him you want one of these cars and you want him to figure you some insurance. Also, don't forget our buddies at Stampede Restaurant. They're open 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. They're there for breakfast, their dinner and supper. They put opening for breakfast. You go by and see all the folks at Stampede Restaurant. We're being a little brief on our commercials tonight, but our merchants understand and our people understand. We're going to give as much time as these candidates as we can, and we'll make up for all this next week. But now, got to go to break. We'll be right back. Don't y'all lose your train of thought.
Sometimes we make mistakes. When this happens, Irish Bail Bonding can and will help you help yourself. Serving all Talladega County, Irish Bail Bonding is family owned and operated. Irish Bail Bonding believes in quick action 24/7. They never close. For quick, honest, and dependable action, call Irish Bail Bonding. If owner Mike McDaniel can't get you out of jail, more than likely you can't get out. Call Irish Bail Bonding and let Mike put your feet back on the street. Planning a get-together, sporting event, or special occasion, let CG's help make the event more enjoyable. CG's can advise you on a favorite champagne or special wine imported from all over the world, as well as from New York and California. Perhaps you'd rather choose a muscadine wine from Alabama. CG's also has a nice selection of the latest in stemless wine glasses or champagne and water glasses. Only at CG's can you obtain your favorite imported beer, party supplies, mixes, and a variety of nuts.
Folks, I want to share with you just for a second here. This right here is pineapple peach mango, and it is probably the best soft drink that you can get anywhere. And what I like to do, Mr. Benny, is I'm not going to drink on TV. I mean, I might get caught drinking and driving. But there's some peanuts that Charlotte's got at her store at CG's. There's all kind of mixed nuts.
Oh, she got the nuts.
And I... oh. Oh, God.
Everything but San Francisco.
I ain't touching that.
By the way, don't forget a gift for your favorite hostess. Visit CG's, conveniently located in Talladega at the corner of Howard and West.
Talladega College. Join our incredible nightlife experience. August 24th at 8 p.m. at the Tornadoes Gymnasium. Starring Travis Porter. CTG. Tickets available at the bookstore on campus, On Time Fashion in Anniston, or charged by phone, 855-828-8427. Open for all collegiate students to attend.
From the time a certified technician arrives at your house or place of business, he goes to work. The life of your heating and cooling system is regular maintenance. When the job is finished, your system runs and looks like new. All work performed by Affordable Heating and Air is guaranteed. Affordable Heating and Air does not claim to be the biggest company in the world, just the best. Call Affordable Heating and Air and make an appointment to have your system inspected. Affordable Heating and Air appreciates your business.
A death is a troubling time for any family. Talladega Funeral Home offers dignity, respect, professionalism, commitment, and fairness to all families in need. We listen carefully. We know that some of us find great comfort in traditions, and we work tirelessly to honor those traditions. Our professional team gets to know each and every family member to help each and every individual remember, share, and ultimately move towards healing. Contact Brittany Boozer at Talladega Funeral Home today, 256-362-0111. Talladega Funeral Home. We care because every life has a story.
Welcome back. And Larry,
Thank you, Mr. Benny.
I think it's time to take the gloves off.
Go for the throat.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, let me, especially Mr. Murphy, Mr. Murphy and Mr. Jacobson, y'all have been involved in the budgetary process for 4 years and 16 years. I'm looking at the Article 2009 budget. Said y'all, the third budget that was proposed by the mayor at that time was cutting about 35% of the different agencies. And of course, education is very much concerned in Sylacauga. You've always had a very good educational system here. But you cut education, or I guess you cut some of it anyway. You said you tried. Said much of the dispute has come from the $919,000 appropriations to the city school boards of education. The mayor at that time asked to be the approval for the cuts amount given to the city's general fund, giving them money from the ad valorem tax fund instead. If I understand the ad valorem tax that's budgeted for education,
Right.
it can't be used for anything but education.
No. Right now we
and
have.
according to this right here, at that time, you had approximately $2.5 million in the school fund. Well, is there any reason that you won't give the school this money?
Yeah, we do give it.
Why are you holding $2.5 million? Why don't you give it to the school and let them use it?
Because we made an agreement with them when we did this bond issue for them to build the schools that they're building now, the remodel the high school and build 2 gyms. If the economy does get bad, then we had a plan in place, and they agreed to it to let us hold some of that money so we could make the payments on the bonds if the economy got worse. That's the reason that we hold a certain amount in there and do not. But anything over that, if they want it, they can get it.
But can you legally hold school money?
Well, if they agreed to it, I mean, they said that
understand.
I don't know if we can legally do it, but we told them that that's what we would like to do, and they said, well, we agree to do that.
If you and I agree to go ahead and rob a bank, it's illegal. I still don't make it any better.
I don't think it's illegal, Mayor, because the city does the bond issue and the city makes the payments on the bond issue.
I understand, but ad valorem tax.
Ad valorem tax is
strictly for the school.
But when it is used, it will be used strictly for the schools.
But in the meantime, if the school needs $1.5 million and y'all got it in the bank account somewhere, you're propping up your bottom line on your financial statement. So in reality, you don't have $1.5 million to use for other city services. You can't spend this.
No, we can't spend
this
for
money
other
for
city
street paving.
No.
So if you took this $1.5 million out of $2.5 million out of your budget and give it to the school, then you're going to be $2.5 million in the hole on your budget.
No, now we don't count that $2.5 million in our. Right now, I think our budget's somewhere around $13 million. That's not part of it. That's not. You got to
show this $2.5 million somewhere.
Well, we do show it. I mean, but that's in our. We don't put that in our general fund to operate the city with.
But it has to be in your budget overall.
Oh, it is in the budget, but I mean it's not in the general fund. I mean, you're right. We can't spend that for paving or buy police cars or anything like that.
But your bottom line budget, when you print it every year, when you adopt the budget, you're adopting a budget for X number of dollars.
Right.
That's including this $2.5 million for education. If you write a check for $2.5 million and give it to the school system, then you've got $2.5 million less in the bank that you've got to show somewhere.
But that $2.5 million is in that ad valorem tax fund. It's a separate fund from our general fund.
You don't claim it on your balanced budget every year?
Well, yeah, I mean it's claimed on the balanced budget, but it's not part of the. It's in the ad valorem tax fund, and we keep that in the bank to make ad valorem tax payments to pay off the bond debt.
So you're taking school money to pay off a bond issue?
to do the
so
buildings.
in other words, you took this $2.5 million bond and gave it to the schools? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it was more than, I think it was something like $15 million.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yeah, the bond issue we floated was $16 million. And then the school board found another one for $5 million. So they had a total of $21 million for the building project for the high school and for the 2 gyms. The money you're talking about, it shows up in the financials as either restricted or unrestricted funds. And the restricted funds, of course, it's got it earmarked, and they're the only things you can spend it for.
That's the question I was asking, though.
But now that's
if you took his $2.5 million out and gave it to the school, wouldn't this show a $2.5 million less?
Now, actually, when we're looking at the revenue streams of the income, what's coming in and what's going out, that's the only things we're trying to balance. We're not looking back at our, what we have in reserve. The reserves are not entering into that equation.
You all want to make any comments on this?
I'd like to ask a question then. If the reserves aren't entering in from that bond issue, what about other unearmarked reserves? There's all kind of rumors that we've had a large reserve at one time. And the big question is, how much of that reserve do we have available now? That's a fair question.
Now, I've got a question. Why is it a rumor? Why don't you know?
That's a good question, Mr. Green. In Sylacauga, it's hard to get information.
It's not a rumor. Every month we're presented with financial statements, and it still has all of our bonds. It's got everything listed on there.
And it's public record. Anybody that wants to access that is welcome to come up there and access it.
It's no kind of secret or anything.
It's not anything that's a secret. It's not
I just asked a question that somehow hadn't gotten an answer. My question is...
It's published once a month, Jim.
I just asked the question, though, is we had at one time a certain amount of reserves. If these reserves are still there, I'd like to know what they are and how much they've come down from what we originally had.
Okay. That is published once a month. It's given. We have it at the work session.
Is there an answer, or is it just directions to go to a work session?
Come to a work session and get the answer.
I would, but I'd rather watch paint dry.
Okay, that's fine. But that's where you get it. But
I have a question. Why do we have a work session and then have a council meeting too?
Excellent question.
Because the council meetings are one that most all of the citizens would attend.
Well, and there again, work sessions are open to the public also, and I think it's important that we have work sessions because we have a lot of discussions in the work sessions, and we get a lot of things ironed out in the work sessions, and then that's not to say we don't have discussions in the council meetings, but I think it's important to have work sessions because we are able to get a lot of things solved and worked out there. I just feel like it's important.
And that's certainly been a topic that's been kicked around that, some people have said, we'd rather just consolidate them. And it really doesn't matter to me. It's going to be, whether you're spending 2.5 hours in a work session and then 15 minutes in a council meeting, or if you just want to go spend 2 hours and 45 minutes in one meeting. That doesn't matter to me.
And one of the things that I've heard, we get in a work session and it's a more relaxed atmosphere. We get down in the council chambers. It's a little more stressful. And I've had a lot of people say, we've interviewed people for board applications and everything in the council chambers with the council full of people, and I've been told that they're a little bit intimidated there. So, it's just a little more relaxed atmosphere in the work session, so we can discuss things and talk about it like we need to, in my opinion. So
we got to go to a break, and we'll be right back. Caught him off guard.
Be right back.
Planning a get-together, sporting event, or special occasion, let CG's help make the event more enjoyable. CG's can advise you on a favorite champagne or special wine imported from all over the world, as well as from New York and California. Perhaps you'd rather choose a muscadine wine from Alabama. CG's also has a nice selection of the latest in stemless wine glasses or champagne and water glasses. Only at CG's can you obtain your favorite imported beer, party supplies, mixes, and a variety of nuts. By the way, don't forget a gift for your favorite hostess. Visit CG's, conveniently located in Talladega at the corner of Howard and West. From the time a certified technician arrives at your house or place of business, he goes to work. The life of your heating and cooling system is regular maintenance. When the job is finished, your system runs and looks like new. All work performed by Affordable Heating and Air is guaranteed. Affordable Heating and Air does not claim to be the biggest company in the world, just the best. Call Affordable Heating and Air and make an appointment to have your system inspected. Affordable Heating and Air appreciates your business.
Elevate your aspirations and stir your creative energy from learning experiences designed to expand your potential and bring out your personal best. Our beautiful historic campus is a quiet place, away from the pace of urban living, and houses the stained glass windows by David Driscoll and the Woodruff murals, including their Amistad series. Talladega College attracts top students nationwide and offers specialized attention that promotes learning, fosters leadership, and cultivates talent. Rise up! Talladega College, producing world leaders since 1867.
Talladega College. Join our incredible nightlife experience. August 24th at 8 p.m. at the Tornadoes Gymnasium. Starring Travis Porter, Roscoe Dad, CTG. Tickets available at the bookstore on campus. On-time fashion in Anniston. Or charged by phone. 855-828-8427. Open for all collegiate students to attend.
A death is a troubling time for any family. Talladega Funeral Home offers dignity, respect, professionalism, commitment, and fairness to all families in need. We listen carefully. We know that some of us find great comfort in traditions, and we work tirelessly to honor those traditions. Our professional team gets to know each and every family member to help each and every individual remember, share, and ultimately move towards healing. Contact Brittany Boozer at Talladega Funeral Home today, 256-362-0111. Talladega Funeral Home. We care because every life has a story.
I do.
Welcome back. Now let's get you some answers, folks.
In case you missed, and I apologize, I should have announced this before the 7:30 break, but in case you know someone that don't get to see the whole program tonight, we go off the air at 7:30 on Channel 10, starting Monday morning at 11 a.m., 11 p.m., Tuesday 11 a.m., 9 p.m., Friday 7 p.m., and Sunday at 10 a.m. This program will be aired in its entirety thanks to WIL-TV, Mr. Vince Early, and all the folks here. We appreciate them caring enough about their city to allow this program to be aired. You're hearing the folks that want to be your mayor. You're hearing them answer the questions, and I appreciate them being here and taking a little bit of the heat, I guess. And we're not through. We're just getting started. But you let everybody know it'll be on all next week. Monday 11 a.m., 11 p.m., Tuesday 11 a.m., 9 p.m., Friday at 7 p.m., and Sunday 10 a.m. Question while I was off the air. You want to know
how much money is in the reserves?
I don't know exactly how much money is in the reserve, but I know we got $2 million when we sold the hospital. We put that money in an account. The council at that time, I was not on the council then, but they said that we would not use that money unless it was an emergency. We have not touched that money, so that's $2 million. But I feel like, and I can back this up, I can go and get the records out. I feel like if we were to liquidate, if we were to go to all the banks, cash in everything that we've got, I think we would probably have somewhere between $5 and $6 million.
But how much is your monthly operation?
Well, it varies. I mean, our monthly payroll is like $500,000, and our accounts payable, you know, we spend close to, or a little over $1 million a month, I guess. I don't know exactly. It varies, but.
So you're saying you're within 3 or 4 months of being.
Yeah, I mean, if we didn't have any money come in for the next 6 months, yeah, we would be broke. We'd have to use everything we've got. But, you know, if that happens, it's going to be a lot worse than, we're going to have a lot of other problems also.
May I ask a question? You know, we're sitting here talking about reserve, and yes, that is important. And I think the three of us that are not council members have no earthly idea what's really in the bank accounts until one of us gets elected and gets the opportunity. But my concern is, why are we worrying about that when we need to be worrying about increasing? And increasing is called bringing in revenue. And revenue comes from bringing in industry, bringing in commercial development. You know, I hear nobody saying anything about that. And like I said a moment ago, it takes guts to do that. I heard at one of the places that we came and spoke that we were going to speak with Calvin Miller. Well, I served on the Industrial Development Board for a year and 9 months, 11 months, and the way I look at it, Mr. Miller, is Talladega County's development. What happens to Sylacauga? What happened to us going out and getting our own and interviewing and recruiting? We can't just sit and wait for the Alabama Department of Development to give us anything. We got 67 counties in this state, and every one of them's got their hands out hoping, just hoping, we're gonna get a small little crumb into our area. We can't do that, not with no more reserve than they're saying we've got. We got to get out, and frankly, what we have to do is go to work. Something that we have not done. We've not invested in ourselves. We just need to go to work.
Let me ask you, on developing, is there anyone with the city itself that's recruiting industry? I know you have Calvin Miller for the county.
We have Calvin Miller and the Economic Development Board for the county, and then we've got our Industrial Development Board that works primarily with the city. They also work with Calvin Miller and the Economic Development Board.
Can you tell me how many industries they have brought to Sylacauga in the last 10 years?
Well, they brought the shingle plant, and there has been some in the last 10 years. The Fleetwood Metals, I think.
Fleetwood Metals, Heritage Plastics. We've increased at NEMAC from about 300 jobs to approximately 800 now.
Bluebell has added jobs.
Wait just a minute. Mr. Pete Moore brought Bluebell here. When Flavor Rich went out of business, he had the vision to bring something in here, and he's the one. He was just plain ordinary citizen that went to Texas and brought Bluebell here. So,
but he didn't do it all by himself. I mean,
he was the one that had the vision for it. It wasn't anybody else. So let's give him the credit.
Well,
he does deserve a lot of credit.
What about 280 project? On and off, on and off. Y'all have spent thousands of dollars on this thing. Now you've scrapped the plan.
We have spent some money trying to, and we want to do it right when we do it. And I think all of us are agree with that. We don't want to put this city out on a limb and cause the city to lose a lot of tax money if we do it wrong.
Well, the question is, you say lose tax money. If you go out and recruit, the thing I don't understand, of course, this is y'all's city. We're just here doing a TV show tonight. But the city, if I understand it right, you've offered this agency all this land free. You're just going to give it to them. And then you're going to float a bond to build the buildings. And then in 20 years, they're going to own it.
Well, that's what the agency wanted, Mayor, but you see that didn't happen. So, we've got a hand in that too. We've got a say there too. So, it's up to us to make sure that we don't let that agency take advantage of us like that. That's why it has not happened. It's been 2 failed attempts.
But did y'all not go into this frontwards, knowing this was about to happen?
Well, we went into it knowing that we were attempting to do that, but we never got far enough to get everything ironed out.
So it's cost you several $1,000s to scrap the plan.
It cost us, I'd say probably $10,000, but we hired an attorney to look out for our interest, and I think that was worth what we spent.
Any of y'all got a comment on this?
Yes, I do. Because I was certainly involved with the first development effort out on 280, and what we were looking at, in looking at small markets, there's almost unheard of anywhere today that you can find a developer that's willing to go to a small market and go in and finance their own operation, especially, to do some of the things that our people had asked us to have included in any development did, like a theater. That was a key piece of it. And standalone theaters are a thing of the past. It's just not going to happen anymore.
But the question would be, how do you justify?
But what I'm headed to, Larry, is in looking at this, if we went in and we did the land, and it wasn't a giveaway, it was there was some payback in there, and then working with the utilities department to get the infrastructure in place, and then they were paying the principal and interest plus a little bit of override every year on that. But the city of Sylacauga owned that facility, lock, stock, and barrel, until that last payment was paid.
I know, but then you were going to give it to them.
They would have paid for it by then.
But y'all are floating the bond. What if they went under?
Then you got a risk.
You're talking about millions.
You got to manage.
But how do you justify the city, whether it be Sylacauga, giving land to a private agency, and then floating the millions of dollars worth of bonds to put in business against your other businesses?
It's done.
All you're going to do is just switch money around.
It's done every day.
I know it's done every day, but I'm not sure. I am not the sharpest pencil around, and but I keep going back to the fact if you put money in the people's pocket, you don't have to go out and pay retail to come here. They're going to come where the money's at.
But we need to hire you for a developer.
Don't you need
because
industry?
we haven't been able to
You know
find
what,
those
you
people.
know,
But get the
Industry first, and then the retail.
Put the money in the people's pocket.
To have somebody say that, and I mean, this is something I'm in basic disagreement with, that we have to, as a city, give these incentives to bring retail in. Now, I agree at one time you had to give some incentives to bring industry in, but retail's a different ballgame. And quite frankly, there's some of us who believe in a government that, you know, government doesn't have the right to get involved in decisions at I guess a private level. I mean, basically what some people I think government's about is to go into partnership, and I think you made the point. Those of us that spoke out against this 280 development on the first go-round, that was our whole point. If you didn't see that there was a risk of them bellying up, then the city's going to be holding a half-built shopping center with empty building. I mean, that to me was too big a risk to take, especially when we've ignored the fact that bringing in new industry, even the IDB, the last time they had a program, they showed the odds against bringing an industry in these days anywhere is so astronomical. There's 17, this is the IDB, or I guess I should say Talladega County Economic Development, 2010 figures. Over 17,000 small economies, local, state, and county level, are chasing less than 500 major industries every year. And the odds of getting one is few and far between. My whole point is we've let existing businesses and industries leave our community. Now, my gosh, Larry, like you say, if Calvin's in charge of bringing in heavy industry, that's fine. But how do we explain that we've lost businesses and industry? That's a local problem. As mayor, I think that's something that could have been, and I plan to take direct action to ensure with the legislation passed in Montgomery, we can afford to give local businesses incentives.
It's not our fault that Avondale closed. It's not our fault that we've lost jobs.
I'm
here.
talking about Budweiser.
And again,
I'm talking about.
We didn't have anything to do with Budweiser
well,
leaving. We didn't cause Budweiser to leave.
Would you like a list of them?
They are here.
35 of them.
Well,
I mean,
but we hadn't caused them to leave.
Listen, I mean, this is not about what y'all did on the council. This is about the next mayor. I mean, quite frankly.
And I say one more time, on the 280 development, it has not happened. And that's the reason it has not happened, because we never got it worked out where we all felt comfortable as the city of Sylacauga that we were not gonna lose our taxpayers' money. So it's still out there growing cucumbers and bitter weeds, and we hadn't done anything yet. So when the right time comes, maybe we can get something worked out.
Got to go to another break, but don't forget Rehab First at McGuffey Healthcare. If you need any kind of rehab, you contact the folks at McGuffey Healthcare in Gaston. They're the #1 long-term care facility in Etowah County, and they're the best place to work according to Gaston Time Reader Survey. 98% of all the rehab patients surveyed say they would recommend Rehab First or for that top healthcare facility to receive rehab care in Etowah County. Got to go to a break, and we're going to come back. We're going to talk about REEF. A lot of people are thinking that somebody is on the payroll, on the take. We're going to talk about this when we come back.
Sometimes we make mistakes. When this happens, Irish Bail Bonding can and will help you help yourself. Serving all Talladega County, Irish Bail Bonding is family owned and operated. Irish Bail Bonding believes in quick action 24/7. They never close. For quick, honest, and dependable action, call Irish Bail Bonding. If owner Mike McDaniel can't get you out of jail, more than likely you can't get out. Call Irish Bail Bonding and let Mike put your feet back on the street. Planning a get-together, sporting event, or special occasion, let CG's help make the event more enjoyable. CG's can advise you on a favorite champagne or special wine imported from all over the world, as well as from New York and California. Perhaps you'd rather choose a muscadine wine from Alabama. CG's also has a nice selection of the latest in stemless wine glasses or champagne and water glasses. Only at CG's can you obtain your favorite imported beer, party supplies, mixes, and a variety of nuts.
Folks, I want to share with you just for a second here. This right here is pineapple peach mango, and it's probably the best soft drink that you can get anywhere. And what I like to do, Mr. Benny, is I'm not going to drink on TV. I mean, I might get caught drinking and driving. But there's some peanuts that Charlotte's got at her store at CG's. There's all kind of mixed nuts.
Oh, she's got the nuts.
And I. Oh. Oh.
Everything but San Francisco.
I ain't touching that.
By the way, don't forget a gift for your favorite hostess. Visit CG's, conveniently located in Talladega at the corner of Howard and West.
Talladega College. Join our incredible nightlife experience. August 24th at 8 p.m. at the Tornadoes Gymnasium. Starring Travis Porter, Roscoe Dash, CTG. Tickets available at the bookstore on campus. On Time Fashion in Anniston. Or charged by phone. 855-828-8427. Open for all collegiate students to attend.
From the time a certified technician arrives at your house or place of business, he goes to work. The life of your heating and cooling system is regular maintenance. When the job is finished, your system runs and looks like new. All work performed by Affordable Heating and Air is guaranteed. Affordable Heating and Air does not claim to be the biggest company in the world, just the best. Call Affordable Heating and Air and make an appointment to have your system inspected. Affordable Heating and Air appreciates your business.
A death is a troubling time for any family. Talladega Funeral Home offers dignity, respect, professionalism, commitment, and fairness to all families in need. We listen carefully. We know that some of us find great comfort in traditions, and we work tirelessly to honor those traditions. Our professional team gets to know each and every family member to help each and every individual remember, share, and ultimately move towards healing. Contact Brittany Boozer at Talladega Funeral Home today, 256-362-0111. Talladega Funeral Home. We care because every life has a story.
No time for chit-chat, folks. We got to get to it, Larry.
Reef has been a topic for 4, 5, 6 years, and of course it's no secret that Claire Curtis has been a forefront of helping bring Reef to its knees, and thanks to WIL-TV and Vince Early and Chris Davis at that time for going out and getting footage and exposing what was going on here. It's where it is today. It's not over with. There's millions of gallons of whatever in the ground, and as a taxpayer of Sylacauga, I'm going to be forced to have to pay the bill to clean this stuff up. Miss Claire, I'll go with you.
Okay, I brought along a whole stack full of things. This is all that the newspapers have written about this, probably 70-something articles. And yes, I was the one that has fought the hardest against it. Why? Because it has destroyed the quality of life of not only myself, but other citizens in this town. And I'm sure they're all standing up right now hollering because they're so excited that I'm saying this. But the truth of the matter is, I want to ask the question to the two gentlemen that are on the council. Why did you have the meeting on June the 15th to try to get the city to take that wastewater when you know good and well that EPA is going to have to clean that out because the utility board has already said that they cannot take it. They had a lawsuit called against them at Reef. The judge threw it out, said that they were not going to be responsible for that any longer. But yet we know that if EPA comes and cleans that out, they're going to charge back local industries that has brought it in there. So I ask one question: how much is somebody's health? How much is somebody's life? Because a lot of people have gone sick with asthma, little children. A lot of people have had respiratory problems. It has just escalated. We've got cancer rampant here in this town. So I asked, when you went in that backroom meeting trying to sell us out, what was your reason?
Let me answer first, if I could. you know, if you know something about a backroom meeting, you're one meeting ahead of me because I have no knowledge of any meeting that took place. I read about something that was in the paper, and that is my only knowledge that I've had of any kind of meeting. I have not been involved in any meeting, you know, concerning reef and the utilities. And so I'd like to say, if you know something about a meeting, you're one meeting ahead of me.
Well, it was in the Daily Home, ADM seeks local solution for reef, June 15th, 2012.
But it didn't tell you that I was there.
Nor me. I was not in it. I was not in it.
And so you're saying you knew nothing about the meeting?
I'm saying I knew nothing about that.
I knew nothing about it.
You have no idea why they wanted to have this meeting and make the citizens of Sylacauga have to clean it up?
One thing I can't understand, everybody keeps saying the citizens of Sylacauga cleaned up.
That's because the utility board,
it's not in the city limits of
utility bill
Sylacauga,
to
it's in the county, so.
But it has affected
I
the
agree,
city of Sylacauga tremendously.
it's affected the city of Sylacauga, and that's why we filed suit, because it was affecting our citizens.
And where is that suit?
Well, Ms. Curtis, I guess, I don't know. I mean,
if it's not in the city of Sylacauga, how can y'all file a suit against something that's not in y'all?
Because it was affecting our citizens. It was destroying the quality of life for our citizens.
Question
the reason
is,
we filed suit.
I know Ms. Curtis has fought this thing for several years, and she was not getting any help from anyone for years. County commission, council, mayor, representatives. The people in town were talking, and several people asked me, said, why don't you ask them who's getting paid? Whose hand's in the pot? Did you get a kickback or
No,
be inquired
sir,
about
I did not get in.
What about duck hunts? Anybody been on a duck hunt?
Any favoritism?
No, I hadn't. I didn't know there was any ducks out there, but
Ms.
no, I have
Westman, you
not
got a
been
comment on this?
Well, my only comment is, okay, what's the problem? Okay, I'm on the outside looking in. If it's hurting the city of Sylacauga, why Ms. Curtis hadn't been helped? Okay, now if the EPA come in and does this, then they hold the business responsible, then that's a bad spot on our city. If they're gonna tax penalize the industries, that's gonna hurt us. So I'm trying to figure out, because I've been asking about it, why haven't anything been done from a city point of view?
Is there any reason y'all have not tried to annex this property in and be in control of it? You had a utility,
annex the reef property?
Yeah. You also had a utility board that was accepting this stuff. Y'all appoint the board members.
The utility board was accepting it until they found out it was violating their permit. And then they immediately stopped when they found out it was violating their permit, their discharge permit.
Maybe the utilities board needed a contingency plan. Because if they would have known the intake that it was coming in, surely they could have run a trend and seen that at some point in the future it was going to overtax their system.
Well, they should have been taking something in if they didn't know what they were taking.
Exactly, but you know what? We're talking about something in the past. Unfortunately, there's
it's
something.
Not going to be in the past.
There's something on the table right now that we haven't even learned from the reef, and that is this Avondale property, so-called, that we were given, that we've got to develop. There was never a phase one that I know of done on that property.
Our time is up, folks. I appreciate Clara Curtis, Jim Heathcott, Walter Jacobson, Doug Murphy, and Bobby Whetstone for being here and taking the heat tonight. Thursday night, folks, at the J. Craig Community Center, they will take up where we left off. Bring your boxing gloves. Bring your question. I don't know how much time they're going to let you have. I'm not sure how they're going to run this for them. But is it 6 o'clock? 6 o'clock Thursday night, J. Craig Community Center. Be there. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all of our sponsors. See you next week.
Without being unplugged. Tune in again next Sunday night from 7 to 8 for more In the Interest of the People with Larry and Benny. Have a great week and be safe. We'll see you next time.